team to give us an update. Tell us what's happened with BEMA.
Right, well, we are BEMA, so I'm Mark, she's Amy and Julia. So we are your local environmental record centre. So we've got a couple of slides each, so it's a bit of a 3 for the price of 1 from us. So I'm just going to run through my slides. So one of our core things we do is obviously data. So we get data in for a number of different sources, a number of different people, yourselves and other conservation organisations. And one of the things we do is obviously process and hold that data. So 3.6 million records we now hold within our BEMA database. And this year we've got new data sources, so for example NatureSpace, ARGs, they're doing amphibian reptile records, the Biological Society data. We've recently had a swathe come through. We've had 10 years of mosses data come through, which is brilliant. We're working through getting that in the database. And East West Rail surveys, we've had a big tranche of data as well, which is a lot of protected species along that track. So that's now gone into the database. So this year we're aiming to load around 100,000 records, and our data search partner we have awarded a contract with as well, which helps process our records because they're searchable for conservation purposes and for planning purposes as part of the database we provide. In terms of what's happening going forward this year, there's a couple of exciting projects coming up. So MapMate has been retired, has been mentioned before. It's in the process of not being supported anymore, unfortunately. So we've got an opportunity to replace that. We currently use MapMate, so it's central to what we do. But we've got an opportunity now. We're looking at how to replace that, what options we might have. And we're looking for things like more powerful reporting, analysis, better updated systems, less reliance on old technologies like Access. If you've got any ideas, do let us know. Drop us a line. If you've seen a brilliant biological recording database system, you've heard of something great, then do let us know. We are working on that. We've got a couple of leads on that going forward. So that's something that's going to be happening looking at this year. The other thing is online resources expansion. So we have a website. Hopefully you've all come across our website at some point over the last few years. We're looking to expand what that does. So we're looking to kind of offer a bit more of a service that helps look at identification, look at links to groups like BIG, and looks at things like local species maps. So you can see what the gaps are in recording and help us fill in those gaps for our database. If you've got any feedback, let us know, drop us an email, elc@buckinghamshire.gov.uk, and we'll bear that in mind to help us look at what else we could do with our website. If you've got any ideas, we're interested to hear. So that's kind of roughly what we're doing with data. This next bit is a bit more kind of personal to me in terms of my research project. So it's linked to my dissertation. So 2 or 3 years ago I did a project, and these are kind of the findings which I thought you might be interested in because it's links to invertebrates. So the premise of the project was to look at different types of heather and heath species, so Calluna and Erica genus. And the idea was to look at what different pollinators were visiting those particular types of heather within heathland. We know there's a wide type of pollinators. We know different types of solitary and social bumblebees. But what goes with what? So, in summary here, just a quick run through. This is kind of what my observations were in this form of kind of an interaction web. So, starting with Calluna vulgaris, which is the common heather which was seen in those heathlands, there was a wide range of specialist bees there and other things as well. So we've got the Andrina, we've got the colleagues, so the specialist heather colleagues bee, but we've also got things like ants coming through, some flies, we've got various bits and pieces, we've got some pollen species as well. So there's a real mixture. And one of the things I was aiming to look at was, is there a correlation between kind of the length of the tongue proboscis and the length of the corolla of the different flowers of the different heaths, which there does seem to be. The next one is Ericacearis, which is the Dorset heath, which is a really, really nice nice heather. It's kind of like a mini foxglove if you've never seen it before. It's in Dorset mainly, on the south coast, places like the Isle of Purbeck. Beautiful flower. And what I found there was that there's a real strong association with Bombus terrestris and Leucorum. So the real kind of long-tongued Bombus species, Bombus were really being attracted to that particular species of heath. Not much else was going to that one. There were some other bits and pieces, some flies, a honeybee, bits and bobs, but that was certainly a real strong association. Next one, Ericacearis. So we've got bell heather. So this again was quite a different range of pollinators visiting that particular species. So a mixture of things, as you can see down there. Some butterflies coming into that. And we've got some specialists like the Mimisa, which we'll come on to in a minute. There's bits and bobs, and then Ericatetralix, which is cross-leaf teeth. And again, we've got quite a range. There was a strong association with Bombus piscorum, which was quite interesting, Ericatetralix, and again, quite a few moths and butterflies as well, and grasshoppers. So, whilst there was some overlap between what was visiting what for nectaring, there are some strong kind of separate associations, which I found quite interesting on that. This is some pictures. So what we've got, so it's split in Buckinghamshire and Dorset, so obviously. Top left, we've got the heather colleagues, so we've got Kaluna, the first two boxes, and we've got some small ants, quite a few ants I observed going inside the flowers in Kaluna, which is quite interesting. And then bottom left, we've got the heath bumblebee. The only time I saw the heath bumblebee was in association with Ericatetralix, cross-leaf heath, on more wet heath sites, which is quite interesting. We've got grasshopper, field grasshopper covered in pollen. Both those two are Ericatetralix sites. The top right, we've got Dorset sites, so we've got bell heather, so we've got the large skipper, and we've got the specialist Mimisa as well, which is, what's the common name, sun-pit stalk-tailed wasp. Which are marvellous little tiny buzzy things in the sandy conditions. And then the bottom right, Bombus terrestris, Leucorum, obviously loads of pollen there, associated with the Dorset heath. So that's kind of a summary of my project. I've got some specimens over there, if you have a chance to have a look. Some of those are mine on that table from Bucks. So I encourage you to have a look at those. So that concludes my little section. Handing over to Amy.
Thank you. I'm Amy. Some of you I have met before in various settings. I'm a local wildlife site surveyor. I kind of sit between Mark and Julia. Matt, who's my equivalent, he's going to be leaving us this year. So it's kind of just me and these two for now. Last year I got to survey a Milton Keynes site, which was controversial. Milton Keynes is always controversial for designation, but we had a look. Mark and I went out there at this time. This was middle August, and it was really nice. And then I visited a second time, and Julia popped in there various other times. The reason why this one is quite close to my heart is because it was probably one of the first Milton Keynes sites under the Parks Trust that's been designated specifically for invertebrates. It's a lovely site. What came to light was that it's actually quite unrecorded. It passed on the fact that there were records from white letter hair streak, small blue, and Osmia bicolor, a bee, one of the bees. Osmia bicolor, that's the one. I'm not going to pretend like an entomologist. I'm learning. I'm a botanist. But admittedly, they go hand in hand. So I learnt a lot visiting Stone Pit, and the bee that was recorded there was actually done by Dr. Helen Edliner. I can't pronounce it. Sorry.
Edliner.
That's the one. Thank you very much. And she did the study in 2013, and it's a very, very interesting paper. She studied 2 Milton Keynes sites, and she recorded the Osmio bicolor, which has a very, very, very interesting life cycle where it uses a snail shell to lay eggs and then disguise it with little stick tents, as it were. It's very cool. So yeah, Stone Pit's important really because it does support a variety of habitat. It has 2 lakes. They're actually balancing ponds for the nearby housing. It's got a complicated history, but this particular picture is of the limestone chalk scrape, where they took a large amount of the earth and just left it. And this is what it looks like 30 years later, 20, 30 years later. The only part that was seeded was the meadow part. The scrape was never seeded. They have intentionally seeded kidney vetch there, but since the first few seedings, when it was originally handed over to the Parks Trust, it hasn't since then been seeded. And that's why the small blue seems to like it there. Other things have been recorded there. Alan Nelson has recorded some Odonata. Thank you. And I've put them in. We are very grateful because we have a good working relationship with the Parks Trust. We meet up quite frequently. We share management advice and techniques and plans, and we all love a bit of GIS and data, and it's been a very helpful relationship to get the site designated. And Alan was there as well with the the opportunities for the future for Stone Pit probably revolve around getting more records, which allows us to then have a long-term monitoring system in place, so we can track, species declines. And sorry, Julie, I keep moving this thing and it's doing its own thing. Designating for those species also helps support other species that we don't know are there yet, that might come to light, hopefully, in the future. I myself have not a secret passion, but a very healthy passion for moths, so I'm hoping to go out there a few night times and see what's out there. And the other part is education. And currently the Parks Trust don't have a lot of information at Stone Pit itself, so the opportunity there for getting schools in or other recording groups, and just potentially even funding for a useful, informative info board. Stone Pit's tricky because it's quite populated. There's conflict between aesthetics and wildlife, which will always be the case in Milton Keynes. So getting that balance is quite right. So helping the locals with the right kind of information to look after their place, to be accepting of the fact that it looks messy, is okay. So yeah, hopefully we can work with the Parks Trust and with the locals to try and kind of, make Stone Pit, a little kind of jewel in Milton Keynes, North Milton Keynes. Thank you. And I'm going to hand you over to Julia, because what all of you already know.
I'll get this right this time. So, when we agreed to do this, we were wondering how to divide up the workload. So obviously, Mark's dealt with in improvements to our website, some of our recording effort, and the general day-to-day stuff that we do with data and how we use it and what, in which ways we manage it, which is an ever-evolving challenge. Obviously, Matt and Amy are striving away with the local wildlife sites, which is doing very well at the minute. They are a challenge, and it's one of the ongoing problems that we have in that all the easier sites to designate were done years ago. So the ones we've kind of got left are getting tougher and tougher for various reasons. So it's really nice to have these unusual sites, and it's the recent panel meeting, for those that weren't there, designated some sites specifically for fungi, which is quite unusual. It's something we're getting more into because previously a lot of them were just done for vascular plants. Obviously, Stone Pit was done with invertebrates primarily, and also reptile and amphibians, which often are underlooked. We have had our first reptile and amphibian site down at Beaconsfield in the last panel, so we're moving the goalposts a bit to try and spread out what we're designating things for. It's not just about the plants. Oh, sorry. It's right, yes. So I get the projects bit, and just to be really quick because I'm aware of the time, just to talk about the wide range of ongoing projects which sort of sit within the team. We cover them between us. They come and go a bit with time and fashion and demands on us. The big one that's already been referred to several times for me, or recently, the last 4 years, is in the local nature recovery strategy. It's a key piece of documentation that the government wishes to see in place. It should, if we get it right, give us maximum amount of leverage to try and get some of the things that you guys want done in Buckinghamshire, or the things that you see as being important and cared for. So I apologise, we've taken a lot of time off some of you, and there are other people that haven't nobbled yet, but you will be nobbled, because we're aware that there are quite a few groups missing. So for instance, the bees are massively underrepresented, so I will be chasing other people soon, yes, looking at nobody in particular. So that's a big one for us. The public consultation finished a few weeks back. It's going to take about another 4 months to clean up the content, the species table, specialist niches we're talking about that you guys think are important, and just to get it published. It's a monster document. It's been a long run with that. So this is one that we've been working on with the City of London. Helen and I will both be remarkably embarrassed about quite how many years it's taken to make this public, because I think we've been talking about it for at least 20. Could be wrong. So the idea of the South Bucks Landscape Project is to try and, it's that simple stuff that we all know about, to try and work a way to get a funding bid in to do some, increase the connectivity and combined habitat management across multiple sites. So you've got key sites like Burnham Beaches, or Littleworth Common, or Stoke Common. These are sites of special scientific interest. There's a whole load of other stuff that's in between that either has a lesser status or none whatsoever. And because it's South Bucks, quite a bit of this is basically some of the back garden.
Actually, you're going for it again. I don't know where you are.
Yeah, no.
It's like you've mentioned it.
Yeah. So the plan is that we're trying to make it official. We're trying to harness some possible landscape grants that are out there from Natural England or DEFRA. And it's started, the formal process has started. There was a public consultation meeting a few months back, which was kind of the first thing that the public had seen. We're just trying to get a bit more traction, and we'll continue to help the local partners, the Dollywood Trust, the City of London, and Natural England to try and make some of that happen. And it's been really helpful because a lot of the data you've given us is good leverage to make, you fill in the voids, which is fantastic. Juniper surveys, just obviously it's an ongoing thing. We've been working on juniper for many, many years. We recently received some contract money from the National Trust to help them with some specific surveying in Buckinghamshire and Oxfordshire, just updating some of the information they have, and also so that they can better target somebody else's money into some very positive species conservation. So that's brilliant. Yep. Bucks County Show, those that went will have seen some of the team there. We try and do these public events. We can't do many because we're a small team, but we do try and pick our battles. Really useful event, as was the Achieving Biodiversity Conference, which is a conference that's run by the County Council, but it's for all parish councils. Trying to get traction, trying to get effort at the parish council level with their local biodiversity plans and things like that. And the last one, which you can now get to before you started. So this is something a bit different. Matt, who works with us, some of you might have seen a poster he's done at the back, is actually a birder primarily as well as a pastoral plant specialist.
Oh, it's just started. I didn't do anything.
Okay.
Go on, explain.
So Matt's been doing a study. This is going so well. He's doing a study on the lesser-spotted woodpecker. It's a friend of his, that's why I got this piece of paper because I'm going to get his name wrong. David Bevan is a very talented photographer, and the reason I brought this today, because I know you're all thinking that's not an invertebrate,
It's going to do it.
it's late but it's not an invertebrate, is because this is the only time this has ever been filmed, the behaviour that the woodpecker is picking ants off the tree because the ants are defending the greenfly, which is actually what it wants to eat. So it was interesting because these are the new linkages that we're learning about all the time, and we know woodpeckers eat invertebrates. The reason for Matt doing this study was that they're a very rare bird. We have good population sort of in South Bucks. They clearly need a very specific habitat, and nobody really knows what that is, so that's part of the study, as is its food sources. So seeing this little chap flicking all the ants off, yep, don't want that one, don't want that one, because the ants attack the bird whenever he tries to eat his greenfly. Right, you'll be relieved to know we've now finished messing about. We're done.